Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I'm going to do a little video today that I've never done this before. I've never talked about it. I have on Facebook, but I haven't made a video. And it's basically talking about the company that I worked for, and I believe that there was a connection between people that worked for my company and the crimes here at my house. And so I'm going to explain this to you. Starting here, Dcp Midstream. It is the title of it, and that's the name of the company I work for. Okay. One morning, I met with my supervisor, Dane Wiggins, and I explained to him what was going on here at my house. I told him that based on innuendos and things people said at work, I suspected 5 people at our company, DCP, knew who was breaking into my home. This was in 2011, a year before the premeditated capital murder attempt where I was ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut. Their names were Bobby Dougless, Carla Woodson, Susan Houdyshell, Robin Steer, and Dona Meadows, who was a contract landman. Many of these I considered my friends, but I felt sure they knew something. Okay, Bobby was my direct peer at work. We both worked in the SCADA group. Okay, I was a 27-year company man for Dcp Midstream, which is a midstream gas company half owned by ConocoPhillips and Duke Energy. That's what the DCP stands for, Duke ConocoPhillips. And it's now obvious that the reason these co-workers knew was because of the $1 million underground home in my backyard where the oil show parties were held. I believe there were a lot more than just these 5 co-workers that knew about this in those parties. Dane's boss, Brent Collins, was named Brent Collins, and I felt sure he also knew. Okay. Before I moved to Midland, Ken Slager, a commercial director for DCP, for my company, lived directly across the street from my home, and his group took care of the booth at the oil shows. Okay, I've long suspected that Ken also knew about the underground home and the parties, etc. Chris Mertz, a landman that threatened me in an attempt to stop me from asking questions about Matt Hyman's death, also worked for my company, and he reported up to the commercial group, to Ken Slager and them guys. Okay, and what that was where 2 weeks before the murder attempt, I stopped a home invasion by putting electricity on my bedroom doorknob, and I believe a young landman attorney named Matt Hyman died, and I posted that on Facebook. Excuse me. And 2 of Matt's friends, both landman, Chris Mertz and Brian Hillman, threatened me. Okay, and Chris worked for my company. Okay, I've long suspected landmen being connected with oil show parties. Just because based on their job. This report to Dane created a very uncomfortable and hostile work environment for me, as I was publicly humiliated, mocked, called crazy, while at the same time I had armed and dangerous criminals breaking into my home, stealing from me, and planning my murder. Imagine that. That's what was going on at the time, a year before or a few months before the murder attempt. Here I go to my supervisor. I think telling him there's people at work I believe that know what's going on at my house. I'm having these felonies committed against me. I'm worried that they're dangerous criminals, and they are dangerous criminals. and I'm mocked, called crazy, etc. And all this time here, I've got these killers breaking in my home, planning my murder. 6 months after I miraculously survived the murder attempt, my doctor gave me a return to work permit. But Dane told me that HR said I could not return, and I was placed on LTD, or long-term disability. This ended a 28-year career. I now get a portion of my check with no benefits, including health or retirement. These violent criminals have cost me so much, and it's not just money. I had started contracting with Phillips Petroleum when I was just 18 years old, and so I've done it all my life. I'm thankful that I was paying for the LTD insurance, or I'd be homeless right now, thanks to these violent criminals that break into homes and murder innocent people. It's my belief that after I was laid off, so was Dane Wiggins and those other co-workers that I had reported. I felt like my company was involved in a cover-up after I had survived the murder attempt, because they knew I had reported them other co-workers, and then all of a sudden there's a murder attempt, a premeditated capital murder attempt. They also laid off Ken Slager, and I hadn't even reported him. That was the commercial director that had his group ran the booth at the oil show. He used to live across the street. The HR manager, her name is Shana Troyer, goes on my Facebook one day and threatens me while calling me batshit crazy. This was after I had survived a premeditated murder attempt and was crippled for life. I strongly suspect that Shana also knew about the underground homes and parties, and I wish federal law enforcement would sit her down and ask her, and that way if she lies to them about that, they can send her to prison, okay? And any of these people, they set them down. You lie to a federal law enforcement officer and ask you, do you know about these old show parties, these underground parties? And if they lie about that, and then they're calling me crazy online publicly, spreading life-destroying lies about me, an innocent crime victim, to cover up these violent criminals, then they go to prison. Otherwise, I suggest that these people, they report this to law enforcement ASAP. One day I got a call from the insurance company telling me that they were going to terminate my benefits on my long-term disability, but they were going to give me some money for mental health. I told them I don't have a mental health problem, and I requested a second opinion. See, that was the lies that were spread about me. Oh, he's crazy. He thinks people in the attic. Well, now we got 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic. It's happening all over the country, Multiple people documenting saying tunnels underground homes are here. I mean, proof that I wasn't shot with my gun. Absolutely, I'm not crazy. I'm a crime victim. I was secretly recording this call and made it into a YouTube video. That's on my YouTube channel. They changed their mind after I posted that video of them saying that to me. But I suspect those life-destroying lies of calling me crazy came from people in my company like Shana Troyer, the HR manager that smeared my name in the public. After I got out of the hospital, I was looking at my friend's Facebook for clues, and I noticed this large group was missing around 2 weeks to 2 months of Facebook posts from around the time that I was shot. And basically, you could go back in a person's timeline like a journal, and you could see what they posted every day. It was time-stamped, okay? And so all of a sudden, about 2 weeks before I'm shot, and then 2 weeks after I'm shot, it was just blank, like they deleted it, or they got off of Facebook, It was just weird. There's a whole group of these people, my quote-unquote friends, all of a sudden they have this gap, all of a sudden they all left Facebook at the same time or whatever. I suspected a crime ring leader told the people who were at the underground party when I was shot to stay off of Facebook, okay? And I call them people the murder party, the people that were in my underground home in the backyard, the people that came to my home to murder me, okay? I then saw this weird post on Robin Steer's Facebook. She was one of the people I reported, where a guy named Steve Parker wrote her and said, "Get off the nasty number and don't get on Facebook too often," on the day of the murder attempt, January 28, 2012. I had wondered if my number was the nasty number and Robin had been monitoring my phone calls since she had elevated privileges as being the cell phone administrator for our company. And maybe a crime ring leader told the people who were at the underground party when my murder failed to stay off of Facebook. I'm trying to figure this out. Okay, that would explain the weird gap in those people's Facebook timelines. After I posted this on Facebook, Robin Steer and Carla Woodson smeared my name in the public with lies and threatened me. Robin died on 11/22/19 at 52 years old. Robin's maiden name was McAllister, and there was a nearby neighbor at 3801 Mark Lane named Brandon McAllister. I wonder if they were related. I even wondered if that guy that lived right down the street was from my hometown of Hobbs, New Mexico, and possibly maybe even friends with my nephew over in Hobbs. I'm not sure. It just seems that name seems familiar, Brandon McAllister, and I wondered if that was related to Robin, who I suspect is connected. That's one of the people I reported. When the would-be killers came sneaking into my underground home in the backyard with loaded guns and a plan for murder, all I had was this crazy story of burglar alarms going off in the attic and somebody under my home shooting me, and then finding pictures of secret police, but that isn't the case anymore. Now there's absolute proof showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, which makes me the crippled victim of a premeditated murder attempt, along with proof showing that the police stole evidence to help cover it up. That's one of my recent videos, absolute proof, okay? And smeared my name when I was the crippled crime victim. And it looks like they murdered the guy that lived here before me. And I was told that 4 people had been murdered, died in my home. I mean, this is just amazing. You know, they're just killing one homeowner right after another. Now there's absolute proof showing that I was not shot with my gun. Or here, let me drop that down. There's also proof of over 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic with a dozen addresses in Midland, another dozen in Odessa, along with proof they're hacking security cameras. I have 100 videos of burglar alarms going off in my home, and I was shot with burglar alarms going off. I saw a young Hispanic guy in my attic. It's not a what if, could be. And there are multiple people documented saying that tunnels and underground homes are here, with support and evidence found on old Google Maps. One of those was running for sheriff. I secretly recorded him. Another one said they were put in for the bushes. She named what the budget was and when it was finished. Another one tells me how deep they are, how many bedrooms they are. I've got all kinds of details. I got a recent video on that. Everything's known about the underground homes. One is located in my backyard. That's the big kicker. That's where it's believed the oil show party. It's also believed a young girl was murdered there at a 2010 oil show party, and the previous owner of my home died the week before the 2008 oil show started. My advice to my friends, quote unquote friends, that tried to smear my name after I was crippled for life in a home invasion and capital attempted murder is to report what you know to law enforcement. If you were going to them oil show parties, I think it would be in your best interest to report that to law enforcement. You know they're in my backyard, then that'd be something you might report. You know who tried to murder me at my home, that might be something you can report. Here was Carla Edwards and this slanderous post she posted on my Facebook here. She's I tell you what, you crazy person, you mentioned my name again, I will report you. I was your friend, but you're smoking K2 and smoking bath salt. That's why you went crazy, dude. Face the facts. That's a lie. I've never seen bath salts in my life. K2 was they were selling at the grocery stores back then. I never ever saw bath salt. She never even been to my house. Carla had that I know of. Maybe she'd been here that I don't know of. But here's Robin. Okay, this is the whole same group. Agreed, Carla. Mention my name again, I will report you. So here they were smearing my name and threatening me, and I am the victim, the crippled victim of a premeditated capital attempted murder. Okay, that's all there is to it. A crippled victim of a premeditated capital attempted murder. Here's the HR manager. Okay, Shayna Troyer here. She says, I do not appreciate my name being associated in your batshit crazy lunatic ravens, and I'll be getting a lawyer for defamation. And that's what I want to tell you. I got a feeling when I got that call from that insurance company trying to stop my benefits, saying we're going to give you a mental health, then I got a feeling it come from my HR group, and that HR group is Shayna Troyer right here. She was in the public smearing my name when I am the victim of a premeditated capital murder attempt, the crippled victim. My life is ruined because of these violent criminals. This is Dane Wiggins, the supervisor I went to. Like I said, they laid him off after the fact, And as I was saying, after I reported these 5 coworkers, what had happened was it was retribution against me, mocking, calling me crazy, humiliation, etc. And at the same time, I've got these dangerous criminals breaking into my house, planning my murder. After I survived the murder attempt, I sent Dane this note, and I said, do you have documentation on me reporting to you the 5 people who I believe had knowledge of people breaking into my home? This was a few months before the murder attempt in my life. Call me when you get this, please. Here's my number. And Dane unfriended me, and I've never talked to him again. That's the truth right there. He didn't reply. He didn't provide that information. Nothing. Okay. This right here I found on Robin Steer's timeline in 2012 on the day of the murder attempt. And this guy, Steve Parker, writes her, and he says, you need to add or delete one friend and get off the nasty number. And like I said, she was our cell phone administrator, and I wondered if my phone number was the nasty number. And then he wrote her here. It says, Steve Parker, don't get on Facebook too often. And I wondered if that explained why this weird gap was in this large group of people's timelines that the people at the party, at the underground party in the backyard, they were told, you know, the murder failed, you know, because the murder failed, we might want to get off Facebook. We were planning on Buddy being dead, and then you know, then we're going to have another party, but he lived, so you need to get off of Facebook or whatever, you know. But see, that's where I found that, and I'm thinking, and I even I wondered if that Steve Parker even didn't die. Somebody can look that up, okay? And here, I just want to show you the evidence I show all the time. Here's my home, okay, right here. You can see right here where there's a ditch cut coming out of the back of Home Depot aimed directly at my house. I believe the people going to the oil show parties were using the tunnel that was right here where this ditch was at, okay? And in my backyard was one of the 4 underground homes. You could go to Google Maps, put in my address, and you'd see a big bunker in my backyard that you couldn't see above ground. So I believe that's where the parties were at, or that's one of the 4 underground homes. And then over here is a list of just some of the documentation I got. I got a phone call where I was told there was 4 3-bedroom $1 million underground homes. You know, they were having pedophile parties down there. Ricky Ronaldo said him and his brother used to go in the tunnels near my house when they lived here. Layla O'Brien said that these underground homes were put in for George H.W. Bush in 1987. She worked for PBK. Phone call, Joe Lozano, who was running for Midland Sheriff, said that the late Sheriff Painter used to hide out in these underground homes. And then on the night of the murder attempt, officers Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and L were time stamped as being in or at my home, and they were not seen arriving on the security cameras that saw Woodward and Naylor minutes earlier. That's how we know they came in from this tunnel. That's how they got into my home, was from the tunnel. Police were under my home. Somebody under my home cut my phone lines and shot me, okay? Angie McGee Hurley, she's the one that left my house, went to oil show parties, and told me about the young girl being murdered at the 2010 oil show party. Google Maps showing the large bunker in my backyard, you know. Here, when I was back here with Homeland in 2019, showing them where this human trafficking murder tunnel is. 2 weeks later, they dug up the ground, poured concrete, and I've got that on video. And then multiple death threats. Here's one of them. Lance Eggleston says, "We have access to your residence all times. Nobody will ever believe your story. You'll be silenced, not if, but when." There isn't no doubt that these underground homes are here. There's no doubt they've been used for violent crimes. But I just want to show you that looks like the connection to my company. Okay, here, this is right here. This is my cul-de-sac right here. My home is this direction right here. And see here, you can see where this looks like a tunnel comes right over here. That's where Ken Sliger lived, in this house right here. And this was also the house where Marilyn DeLugy lived. She was the woman that told me that Mike Lawhon died in my home 2 different times, the previous homeowner. 2 times she told me he died in my home, and said somebody else died there before him, okay? And his death certificate says he died in Fort Worth. And so maybe there's a tunnel going over to that house. This Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.